Hello and welcome to another episode of Higurashi. Last time, Tomoe got demoted. She got taken off, probably for her own safety. And Maino and Yamokai were having a chat. How they're not gonna let this whole situation be blown under the rug, chase them out. That's basically what happened. Let's see what Tomoe does now with her time off. Probably just gonna continue investigating. Off the grid,
何度も言うけどほんとバカじゃないの？うっさい。
Tomoe discontentedly uttered that as Madoka carefully helped her stuff investigation materials from one of the First Division's desks into a cardboard box. She thought about smacking her across the head with one of the files in hand, but she decided against it because Fujita was quietly organizing materials nearby. Afraid and from a safe distance, that's smart by him, as per usual.
あんまり懲戒重ねると出世もそうだけどお給料減っちゃうよ。ボーナス年金だって。お姉ちゃんの年くらいだとマイホーム持ってる人もいるんじゃなかった？いいのよ私は。東京にも駆け内にも長居するつもりはないんだから。
Where is she moving?
いざとなったら茨城に移ればいいんだし。あ、お姉ちゃん知らないの？おばあちゃん来年になったら古くなったあの家壊して駐車場にする気らしいよ。
That's some pretty bad news.
で、自分は貯めたお金で賃貸マンションに住むんだって。
Oh, at least she got money for it. Never mind. A good deal.
何それ聞いてないわよ。
What? So Tomoe's plan was to move back in with her grandmother? I don't know if that's a sound one.
せめて改築すればいいじゃない。おー、何でも好きな人ができたからその人のそばで一緒に住みたいんだって。
I respect it.
すごいよね。
80s, that is really old, huh?
ちょっとは見習ったら。
With no suitable retort, Tomoe took the file in her hands and slammed it down inside the cardboard box. Then she sealed it with duct tape, set up another box, and resumed filling it.
にしても恋人発覚の前にスキャンダルなんていかにもお姉ちゃんらしいといえばらしいよね。そう思いませんか、藤田さん。
Keep your distance, Fujita. Don't get baited into this.
いいや。
Don't trade me into this, Fujita muttered to himself, but Tomoe glanced at him and suddenly felt something wicked, then spoke up.
こうなったら今度新聞記者から取材あった時に言ってやろうかな。私には他に好きな人がいます。その人は部下だけど、私と同い年で。
He didn't do anything, man. He was just trying to stay out of the way. Tomoe's trying to kill him via Adro and his wife.
やめてください、未来さん。そんな嘘デタラメが新聞記事になんかなったりしたら、俺間違いなく優子に殺されます。
We call that 4D chess.
冗談よ。
As she says while crossing her fingers behind her back.
そこまで嫌がらなくてもいいじゃない。
Of course she had no romantic feelings for Fujita, but it would be completely boring to outright reject the notion. That being said, his wife was famous all across the police station for being a jealous monster, and Tomoe herself had been on the receiving end of that fury once before, so she understood that particular aspect of his dread.
それより、未来さんにまどかさん、喉乾きませんか？俺ちょっとなんか買ってきますんで。
Then Fujita dashed out of the room like a startled rabbit, without even waiting for a reply. It happened so fast, Tomoe and Madoka were left stunned. Smart. Exiting the situation before they can react.
もう
Weird seeing Tomoe without her drip on. The two of them looked at one another, then burst out laughing out of nowhere. And then...
でもまあお姉ちゃんはすごいよ。あ？何言って。
Thinking that was a sarcastic provocation, Tomoe turned and glared at Madoka. But she had a calm, gentle smile on her face as she gazed at Tomoe, and then continued.
あれだけみんなが無理だ、わかるはずがないって諦めてた事件の真相、ついにたどり着いちゃうんだもの。
Yeah, it took a couple arcs, but we finally got there.
合同捜査本部に参加してる刑事さんたち、みんなお姉ちゃんのことを褒めてたよ。若いとか女だとか言って、その人の実力は判断できないってね。
Good for her, raising the status quo of the workplace.
今だから言うけど、私ね、警察官になんて本当はなりたくなかった。
No, I can believe that. No offense.
正直お姉ちゃんほどお父さんとお母さんの事件に一生懸命になれなかったし、それに危ないのに全然報われない仕事だなって思ってたんだ。でも
Flashback. Madoka lore. One day, while Madoka was working at the cabaret club, Yamote happened to visit as a customer. He looked at Madoka's face and asked her a sincere question.
君、以前どこかで会ったことはないか？
何ですかそれ。そういうナンパのやり方、もう古すぎますよ。
She wore a business smile on her face while sighing deep in her heart. She was sick of dirty, middle-aged men using those sorts of lines. She liked to think that she had a little more taste than that. However,
あ、いや、私は君とよく似た子の面倒を見ていてな。名前を見ない友恵というんだが、聞いたことはないかね？
when Madoka heard that, she immediately dropped the muddler she was using to stir the whiskey. She ran away from her sister to avoid being such a bother for her. Plus, even when Tomoe came looking for her, Madoka made a declaration that she was on her own and turned away. Nevertheless, Madoka still hadn't forgotten about her sister. Considering how many years it's been, she had probably graduated and gotten a job around now. But was she still living a depressing life, being beat down day by day? In the long stretch of time they hadn't seen one another, only bad thoughts ran through her head, sometimes even creeping into her dreams. With that in mind, Madoka completely forgot about her job, then leaned forward.
お姉ちゃんのお知り合いなんですか？私、妹のまどかです。
そうか、やはりな。祐介には娘が2人いると聞いていたが、君が妹さんか。
Surprisingly enough, Yamote was also acquainted with Madoka's parents. In fact, he was her father's boss. So that means he was a fellow police officer?
お姉ちゃん、元気ですか？今、どうしているか、実は、よく知らなくて。
ああ、元気にやっているよ。今は茨城県警の少年係に勤めていてな。同僚や上役たちからもなかなかの評判だ。
お姉ちゃんが、警察官に？
Madoka was a little surprised to hear that. Sure, her father was a police officer, but her sister saw how busy he always was and how he never got time off, so she always said she wasn't interested in joining the police force. but somehow seeing Tomoe as a police officer felt appropriate. Plus, as a female officer in the youth division, she could provide encouragement for young boys and girls just like she used to. How funny. It was somehow amusing and nostalgic. She began to cry and couldn't stop. Yamokai gazed at Madoka with a gentle look in his eyes. And that's how he met his wife. After that, Yamokai visited the club at least once a week and always requested Madoka. And every time he'd give her an update about Tomoe. During those meetings, she came to learn that Tomoe was apparently someone he trusted enough to confide in, and as Tomoe's superior, Madoka was able to inquire with him about the details of her work. Then she gradually started meeting up with him outside of work and eat and chat. Madoka felt sincerity in Yamokai unlike any other men she'd ever met, and began taking more of an interest in him. And one day,
警官ですか?
she upgraded.
ああ、そうだ。実は今度、私は警察署長に異動することになった。愛知県の柿内市というところなんだが、静かで交通の便も良く、君の自宅周りよりもずっと住みやすい町だ。よかったら君も、一緒に来ないかと思ってな。
shooting a shot.
それってプロポーズですか?
ああ、いや、なんというか。
Bro died? Jesus. Feeling embarrassed, Yamokai drank his whiskey on the rocks in one gulp, and it must have gotten caught in his throat because he started coughing. Call that a giga shot? Seeing that, Madoka had a hard time holding back a burst of laughter. Madoka understood that Yamokai was concerned about their age difference. For him, she was the daughter of a former subordinate. That was always the weirdest part, honestly. That it was her dead father's boss. So when they walked side by side, they looked more like parent and child rather than a pair of lovers. He was awkward and yet also reliable from time to time. No matter what the world had to say, deep in Madoka's heart, she had already decided.
でもだからってどうして私が警官なんですか? 別に専業主婦でも家政婦でも私喜んでやりますよ。
まどか君は巴君のことをどう思っている?
お姉ちゃんのことですか?
There was no need to even ask, and the question seemed somehow unrelated to the topic at hand, so Madoka quizzically tilted her head. She loved her sister, she respected her. Even though they argued and had a falling out, she considered her an ideal woman, even now. Really? I mean, that's nice. But on the other hand, Madoka, because, Tomoe is kind of an oddball, not your typical woman.
もちろん好きですよ。向こうはどう思っているのかわかんないけど、本当は私、お姉ちゃんのこと世界で一番尊敬しています。
やはりな。なんとなくで勝手なことを言うのもなんなんだが、君は巴君に対して随分引け目を持っているように思えてね。彼女とうまくいっていないのもおそらくそのあたりが理由といったところではないか。
そんなこと。
君がお姉さんに悪いことをしてという意味じゃない。彼女はとても優秀で自分よりも才能に恵まれていることに劣等感があって、それが何事にも斜に構える思考につながっているような気がするのだ。
Madoka couldn't say anything otherwise, so she silently poured some more whiskey into Yamotai's empty glass. It was just as Yamotai said, so she couldn't laugh it off or gloss over it. Her sister was exceptionally well studied and had a pleasant personality, but Madoka, on the other hand, had no strong education or any meaningful merits in her background. Even though she tried her best in her own erratic way, she never accomplished anything.
同じ親から生まれたというのに、この違いは何だろう。
The absurdity and injustice of it all was frustrating. So, at some point, Madoka stopped bothering to try her best and even started to hate it. No matter how hard she tried, she'd never surpass her sister. Once she recognized that fact, she fully realized that she simply lacked the capability. That's depressing. You can do, I mean, maybe you won't surpass her as a police officer, but there's other aspects. Probably. Rather than enduring that pain, it's far easier if you simply don't bother trying hard from the start. The truth is, she could do it, but telling herself that killed her
惨め
motivation.
だとは分かってるんだ。
Nevertheless, anytime she stood beside her sister, she started to feel distant. It was a vicious cycle of ever-increasing self-loathing. Allowing Tomoe to go on living her life freely was really just an excuse. She didn't want to hate herself and her beloved sister by demonstrating the growing difference between the two of them.
せめて私がお姉ちゃんに勝てるもの一つでもあったらよかったんですけどね。大好きな姉が優秀なのは妹にとって
There
は
has to be one
とて
thing
も
at
誇らしいけ
least.
ど
She's probably better at acting.
重いです。
Actually, maybe not. You do probably act. She's probably better at seducing men, though that's probably not what she wants, huh?
なるほどな。だが、そう思ったからこそ私は、君もお姉さんと一緒のことをやってみてはどうかと思ったのだ。
え？
Madoka tilted her head, unable to grasp what Yomokai was getting at. She left her sister behind because she didn't want the miserable experience of constantly being compared with her, and yet he suggested she go into the same profession as her and compete against her abilities?
カオルさんからかってます？こういう冗談は私怒りますよ。
からかってもいないし冗談でもない。それが君自身のコンプレックスを取り除くのに一番の方法だと私は思ったのだがね。
だいたい勝負なんて最初から見えてるじゃないですか。
You never know.
お姉ちゃんは優秀な選抜組で、私は今からだったら平巡査からのスタート。仕事をこなす量も質も桁違いで惨めになるだけです。
果たしてそうかな。君は巴くんの成し遂げた結果だけを見てそう言っているだけではないのかね。
I guess you never know until you try, technically.
巴くんは実はとても失敗の多い子だ。衝突や挫折も山ほど経験して上司や関係各所に怒られる回数はおそらく同期の中でも一番多い。不器用で頑固でそのくせ脇が甘くて慎重さが足りない。それが私の彼女に対しての評価だ。
ちょっとカウルさん何ですかそれは。
Madoka glared at Yamokai as she reproached him, upset that he'd say something so awful. But the look on his face showed no malice or aversion toward Tomoe. In fact, there was even heartwarming kindness in there.
今の君と巴くん何が違うと思う？才能かそれとも環境か。
それは両方ですか。
いや違う。そしてそれを知るには彼女と同じ目線に立ってみることが一番だと私は思う。本当に才能と環境でお姉さんが今の居場所を築いたのか。よく
Oops.
なに警官一人くらいの人事私の力で何とかしてみせる。 あとは窓か
Damn.
君の気持
We'll
ち
take
次第
that.
だ。
Take all the advantages you can get.
それで私ここの警官の採用試験を受けて警察官になったの。
And that's Madoka's police origin story. Please clap.
あとはお姉ちゃんにそのことを報告してお祝いしてもらって、ついでにカオルさんのことを白状して大喧嘩になったところまでは説明しなくてもいいよね。
そうだったの。
At last, the doubts Tomoe had been holding back all this time finally thawed, and she was convinced. She knew perfectly well that Madoka didn't like their father's job as a police officer. Days off weren't just infrequent, they were practically non-existent, and sometimes he'd get injured bad enough to need hospitalization. So even when Madoka was young, she never had a positive perception of being a police officer. But despite that, she became an officer anyway, and that was the reason why.
でも同じ警察に入ってよくわかった。お姉ちゃんはやっぱり偉いよ。叶わないとか無理とかそんな引け目を持った漠然とした感想じゃない。自分が失敗したこと、思ったようにならなかったこととしっかり向き合って反省して、どうすれば次に活かせるかを悩んで苦しんで、それでも前に進もうとする。それが私とお姉ちゃんとの大きな違いなんだね。
Madoka had the attitude that if she failed, she'd just give up, but Tomoe would stand back up and keep trying again and again until she succeeded. She simply had the courage, the persistence, and the dedication to do so. Of course, there may be some underlying talent beneath that, but the biggest gulf between them was how seriously Tomoe applied herself.
私は自分がお姉ちゃんに劣ってるってずっと思ってきた。だから何をしてもどうせお姉ちゃんほどのことはできないって勝手に諦めてた。私はここまでで、これ以上はどんなに努力してもどんなに願っても無駄だって。自分に向き合って可能性を考えることをしなかった。でもそれって私が自分のことを大切に思っていないってことだったんだね。
そんなこと。
だからね、私これからはもっと自分に対して真面目に向き合ってみる。一生懸命を笑わずに、挫折や失敗を怖がらずにね。そしてその結果がお姉ちゃんとか他の人に比べてどうだって考え方はもうしない。自分のために、そして自分の大切なもののために最大限の努力ができたか、それだけを考え。
窓か。
まあ私はお姉ちゃんほどのガッツもないから、またどこかでつまずいちゃうかもしれないけどね。でも何度でもうまくいくまで諦めずにやってみる。私そう決めたんだ。
Learning how her sister felt, Tomoe suddenly felt an overwhelming rush of emotion. She was delighted just to hear her say that, and she was happy that she had come to such a heartfelt decision. However, it wasn't just that. That wasn't all she worked hard for.
私もね、窓か。あんたがいなかったらここまでなれなかったと思う。
Aww.
私か？
You helped.
お互い様なのよ。あんたは私にとって何よりも大切な妹だった。だからあんたのためなら何でもできる。それが私の支えだったの。
Tomoe also knew how much Madoka respected her. That's why she hated betraying her beloved sister's expectations. There were so many times she endured hardship and wanted to give up. Countless times where she considered that it might be better if she yielded. However, she always asked herself, if I gave up here, what would Madoka think? Don't be sad, discouraged, just imagine her face brought Tomoe's dread. So if she didn't have Madoka, if she didn't have a little sister who always believed she was amazing, she could never have come as far as she did. Those were undoubtedly Tomoe's true feelings.
私のことずっと支えてくれていたのよ。あんたは自覚してなかったんだろうけど。ありがとうね、まどか。そしてこれからもよろしく。
Sisters United.
お姉ちゃん。
Feels happy. Man.
さあ、無駄話はこれくらいにして。さっさと資料整理しないと。治験の特捜部の人たちもうすぐ来るわよ。
そうだね。
After saying that, they resumed packing the documents. In this room, they had the drug analysis results prepared by Soma and the ledgers and materials seized from Sukada's home, which they had been working out all night to prepare copies of. The originals were to be kept at the Joint Investigation HQ, packed away in the records from the conference room.
他に漏れているものはないわね。じゃあ残りは。
Tomoe muttered that to herself while opening the drawer to the assistant director's cabinet. Then she looked inside to see if anything was forgotten, and she suddenly stopped on one particular file.
これ。
What's that? Oh. It was a file full of carefully separated notebook pages stored in individual plastic bags. These were the investigation records that Yusuke Manai left behind before his death.
いよいよ八方塞がりか。ごめん、父さん。
Regrets hounded Tomoe as she opened the file her father left behind. On the last page, the text Kikuchi Airport, June Wednesday, Go was written in black ink.
あれ、そのノート何？
これはね。
あ、お父さんの字だね。柿内空港6月水曜。いや、CI かな。
え？
She misread it the whole time? As Madoka lifted the file from the side, those words leaked out. Her nonchalant voice pierced Tomoe's ears and stimulated her eardrums, and when Tomoe's consciousness wavered as if time had stopped.
ちょっと待って。C1 って、これ、そう読めるの？
だって、この癖書きは間違いなく C だよ。
Damn, should have just done Madoka's help all this time.
お父さんってアルファベット書くのがものすごく下手だったからさ。
じゃあこれはひらがなの「け」に見えるけど。
LT それとも LX かな。ね、そう見えない？
Tomoe froze on the spot like she had been struck by a bolt of lightning, then looked through the notes. After hearing it, yes, this really did look like her father's poor attempt at writing alphabetic characters.
そうだ。
Literally all we needed was Madoka. She was the key. She had always assumed it was written in hiragana, which likely meant go, and she was desperately trying to think of what he might have meant by that. But now she finally realized her perspective was far too narrow, that she had stopped thinking. And then, what do they use alphabetical letters to denote at Kikuchi Airport?
これ
Oh,
どうして
okay.
レターコ
That
ー
zones at an airport or something?
何それ？
ドレターコードってのは空港名または航
Oh,
空
that,
会社
yeah.
名を表すアルファベット表記のことよ。
YYZ is Pearson Airport. I know that.
そして2文字表記は大抵航空会社名を指す。
AC Air Canada? At least we know it wasn't Canada's fault in this.
C1 は確かセントラル第一航空、そして LX はロベルタ航空のことよ。
Roberta.
へえ、さすがスチュワーデスに憧れてたお姉ちゃん。詳しいね。
But she could no longer even hear Madoka's teasing. And then she noticed Vegeta coming back after buying a couple of cans of juice. Tomoe rushed at him seemingly in a fit of anger.
藤田君、ちょっと。
なんでしょう、ミナイさん。
He just got back, man.
お願い。大至急セントラル第一航空とロベルタ航空のことを調べて。過去20、いえ30年間の活動記録を。
It's a lot of years. Lots of records.
どうしたの急に。
Madoka doesn't even realize she just helped Tomoe make a breakthrough.
それにロベルタ航空なんてもうないよ。
Hey, that's less records to go through.
どこかの航空会社と合併したって前ニュースで見たもの。
どこと合併したの？
Central first?
ああ、それなら俺知ってます。セントラル第一航空と合併して今は
There you
セ
go.
ントラル航空って名前になっていますよ。
Another conspiracy just dropped.
セントラル航空？
That name was something she heard recently, but where? Where on earth did she hear it? Was it the plane that the nurse Hiranuma was trying to get on? I don't know. That's the only thing we've done with airports recently. Before she died. Tomoe racked her brain, desperately trying to remember the significance of that name. And that moment.
藤田君、その合併っていつ？
I think I'm wrong.
俺が大学の受験勉強をしていた時ですから
Oh, it's right
12
like
年ほど前ですね。
near when her father died.
確かその時参考書を読みながらラジオで聞いた記憶がありますから多分合ってます。
よく知ってますね、藤田さん。そんなに有名な航空会社なんですか？
Yeah, that's actually pretty
俺
impressive.
実は航空ショーとかが結構好きで
They're just having a
欧米のアク
casual
ロバットチームが使う
conversation
機材とかの運搬を引き
with
受けて
this
いるのが
epic music
セン
going
トラ
on.
ル航空なんですよ。確かパンフにも協賛って形で書かれていたと思います。
なるほど。そしてそのショーは毎年6月、柿内空港で行われる。
And he was meeting someone at the air show? I mean, we already know Hanada killed them, so. But it's nice to know. It connected. Connection after connection after connection. It was all connected.
まどか。藤田君。
We did it!
ミナイさん、
ちょっとお姉ちゃん、一体どうしたのよ。
あんたたち最高！最高よ！
Jeez Louise. She hugged her two bewildered onlookers while laughing at the top of her lungs, for the first time in a long time. Madoka and Fujita just nervously looked down at her as she did. Just then, the phone began to ring. By the second ring, Madoka realized there was nobody else around, so she broke out of Tomoe's embrace and went to answer the phone.
はい、こちら刑事一課。はい、
どうしたの？
お姉ちゃんに来客だって。
Who is it?
東京地検の特捜部の人。
Who? Akasaka? It's not really his thing, but we'll take it. Look at that. We did it, boys. Kind of. We still don't know, like, I'm pretty sure it's implying that he met someone at the air show. there's an important meeting, and that would lead to why he died. Bro has Banes? Who is he? We'll have to find out next time on Higurashi. Thanks for watching and see you later. Bye-bye.